Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of College Football UK. As ever, I'm your host, Fletch, and this podcast is brought to you by the AAW Network. Joining me this week, I have a plethora of guests, which is not often we get this many on a screen at any one given time. First off, we have Nick returning from just about every single week. I think you've been on more times than me over the last few months at the rate
Sick
that
of the
this
sight of
goes.
him.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm on an Oasis come down from Saturday, so you know, um, yeah, rock and roll. Let's go.
Yeah. Returning after what I believe is before or just after the national championship game. It's a face that everybody's missed, and if you're on audio only, but you probably missed the face as well anyway. It's Sam. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been on a couple of times. We
Oh,
did me
you
and
did,
Nick
you
did the
did,
app we did the App State one, which
Yes,
was
we
fun.
did.
you did.
Um, but yeah, apart from that, yeah, not been around too
Missing
much.
in action. Missing in action. Good to have you back, Maddie. Good to have you back.
Yeah,
And
too too busy getting irritated at Ohio. But we'll leave that for another day.
in order to bring in the viewers, to bring in all the we've got the eye candy. We've brought a TikTok star
A
onto the
TikTok
podcast
star.
this
TikTok
week.
icon. Get it right, lads.
TikTok
Yes, an
icon. Sorry.
icon.
We have a TikTok icon. Groovy. How are you, sir?
Very well, boys. I'm really glad to be back, and I'm getting really quite. I don't quite understand the whole TikTok thing. It's blown up massively since my volunteering, but I'm loving it, and it's a good laugh. But it's good
Have
to
you
be
got
back.
Lando Norris's phone number? Are you on one-to-one
I've got his
chats with
manager's
him?
telephone number.
Oh, fair enough.
But more importantly than any of the other three names that I have mentioned, or four names, including my own that I have mentioned so far, I'm sorry, gentlemen, we have an esteemed guest again this week. And when I say esteemed a lot, but I truly, truly mean it this week, returning from a year ago when we covered the group of five in an all-encompassing episode, we have Joe Londergan back. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you so much, you guys, for having me back, and hope everything's great on that side of the Atlantic.
Yes, well, last time I think we spoke, you were on this side of the Atlantic, weren't you? You were in Germany.
I was. I lived in Germany for about a year and a half, and just moved back fairly recently to the States. So now back in the southeast part of the US of A.
Lovely, lovely. So before we really get into it, because again, we bring you in because you are the expert on all things G5, or G6 now. Are we calling it G6? Yeah. Have we got used
I
to that
haven't
yet?
quite decided, and as we all know,
Five
I'm
and a
the one
half.
that decides such things. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Five and a
Right.
half.
Okay.
There you go.
Um. Okay. So we brought in Joe as our expert on all things G5.5. Um. Before we do get going, though, can you introduce yourself to our audience? Let us know where we can find you, uh, should they so wish, which they obviously will want to do by the end of this episode.
Sure. So my main thing, I manage a site called G5 Football Daily with Sports Illustrated's On SI network, covering all five of the traditional group of five leagues. I'm also managing verticals for the same network, covering the Oregon State Beavers and the Washington State Cougars. And because got to keep working. Also covering the University of Central Florida with 24/7 Sports a bit this year as well. So I am all over the internet and just JOEHIO_ on most social media. Although I got to be honest, guys, I've been taking a big break from social media and I don't really miss it. So
Yeah.
Do not blame you at all. Totally understand that position. And speaking of all those links and all those things you can do to find Joe, as always, they will be in the description of the episode as it goes out. If you are on YouTube, if you're looking at me, I believe this always goes out in the order that I can currently see it. Below me is Garrett and Joe. Below them, if you are on YouTube, is the description. Now, there's a bit of preamble. You can ignore the big bunch of text. What you're looking for are the blue links. And as I said, you will be able to find the link to Joe's website, G5 Football Daily. So was it G5football.com?
G5footballdaily.com.
There we go. G5footballdaily.com. The link to that will be in the bio description and will be all the links to go and follow Joe on social media. see as and when he does post, if he does get back on. Will you be back on for the football season a bit more, do you think?
I'm gonna have to inevitably, but yeah, it was nice while it lasted.
Yeah. And also you will find the links to follow the AAW Network on social media, to follow the CFB UK podcast on social media, to follow Gary, to follow Sam, to follow Nick. I'm still not used to this like reverse images. I've pointed at Nick and called you Sam, and pointed at Sam and called you. This is yeah. Not figured it out
You're
yet after
pointing at one thing, and
months.
everyone else's
Yeah.
screens are different
Um,
anyway, so it's completely it's like
it's fine. Yeah.
randomization. Yeah.
It is what it is. But all the links to follow that, and don't forget, we also have our free to join Discord channel. It is so close to the season right now, so close.
It's a month away.
Literally today, as of recording, we are this time in 1 month. We will all be on our way back into the centre of Dublin. Some will be on the way to the airport. Some will be on the way to their hotels. After watching Iowa State, Kansas State at
Armageddon, baby.
1 month. But in that 1 month, come and join us. Come and talk football. Come and talk NFL preseason will be over the next few weeks. We've got college football to build up to. There is the Britball season that is hitting the playoffs. There is the CFL season, which is well underway. Nobody talks about these things in there, so you could be the first. And there are other sports, and there are other things that you can do and join us and come and chat to us as well in our Discord server. The link be in the description. But most importantly, we are here today to talk about G5 football. I'm going to rattle through. We're just going to go through in alphabetical order from the conferences. And actually, I think to do this, we have to do one name drop, one little bit of news early, don't we? Because it's not going to make sense anymore about now.
Yeah,
because there's no longer an American Athletic Conference.
exactly. You're going to have to drop the fact that we've swapped names. They've rebranded.
With a mascot as well, by the way.
With a mascot. Let's not forget Saw the Eagle, who looks like something, I don't want to say it, Fletch, but something your daughter may have drawn.
We'll move on from that comment. Wow.
Joe's nodding. I think he agrees. I'm taking that as a Joe agrees that is a bizarre rebrand. I mean, as mentioned, the AAC has become the AC. So cue everybody turning on the AC later in the year and reaching for the thermostat rather than the TV remote control.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this branding call by Tim Pernetti. See, I think he's done most things right up to this point. This one's a little bit of a head scratcher. So
yeah. So as far as the American Conference goes, there are a few teams that tend to, for me, stick out. But we'll go to our esteemed guest to start off with on this one. You've got Memphis, you've got Army, you've got multiple teams will be able to compete for this year's American Conference. Who are you looking at as I guess your favorites going into the season?
yeah, you mentioned Memphis. I think they're one that's hard to count out. I think there's a lot of talent there. That being said, I think the team that got everybody really excited towards the end of last season and return most of their talent this year is Navy. Mostly Blake Horvath, their quarterback, and what he was able to do in his first year as the starter there, mostly with his legs. But, I think since they brought in offensive coordinator Drew Cronick, who used to be the head coach at Mercer University, they've really kind of made it work for them in what they've affectionately called the sling T. It's a combination of like wing T concepts, but also while pushing the perimeter kind of towards the numbers on the edge of the field more. And it's really kind of worked out for them. I mean, you saw how well they competed, obviously ended up beating Army in that game. That was a big win for them. That was their Super Bowl. So if they can stay healthy and more importantly, keep their quarterback healthy, I think Navy is going to be a big competitor for the AAC title later in the year. But Tulane, as always, intriguing. John Sumrall is such a fantastic coach. I don't think you can ever really count out any team that he leads. And plus, now that they have Jake Retzlaff under center, I think that's a very interesting story that's developed in the last couple of days. I think that's going to be monumentally helpful to them. And they still have Ty Thompson, too, who I think they can find a place for in those gadget formations as well. So I think the big three.
Think losing their running back's going to hurt them?
Yeah. I mean, anytime you lose a guy like Mekhi Hughes, I think that's going to be tough. And, when you have a guy like that who carries so much so much of the workload and has so much yardage week to week. Expecting to replace him with one guy, the year directly after, I think it's going to be tough. There's several teams like that across college football, but if they have a strong kind of stable that can kind of work by committee and make up some of that production, I think that's going to be helpful in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably looking at maybe half, certainly a third of that conference have an outside chance of being successful. You know, Tulane come in with the best sort of 24 finish, 25 continuity, you know, so I think they're my choice. I know we're going to go through predictions in a minute. I backed them last year. I'll keep backing them this year. But like I said, you've probably got a third of that conference that could easily win it. So it's wide open for me.
Yeah. Sam?
I'm going to stick with. This is one of the ones where I was a bit all over the place with who to choose. I think there's like Nick said, there's a lot of teams that could, again, if they stay healthy, could have a big impact. I'm going to go with the team that, although lost that big game against Navy, I'm going to go with Army. I just think that they could, perform
back to
well
back
again, and I think I'm looking at them thinking that they could be ones to a team to beat. I know that obviously they've got the continuity of the same head coach, and I think that you can never
brought
turn
back
down.
most of their defense as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it was the first time that they've had there was something to do with their defense. I remember looking up, but I can't say remember it now. But yeah, for me, I just think Army might have that little bit of knowledge and strength that sort of will hopefully then, only because I'm picking them, that they'll take them to the title. But yeah, it's a difficult. I've got four that are very potentially going to be close to winning it. So it'll just be a case of who beats who.
Yeah, I think that the games between those top four, as you say, Army, Navy, Tulane, Memphis, who plays who and who wins out on some of those is probably going to have a huge bearing on this one. The interesting there one is obviously the Tigers of being proud members as their Fletch, as you saw the tweet that I reposted, proud members of the American Conference, whilst also being all over social media of trying to buy their way out of it. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Are they now a target for absolutely everybody in that conference to try and take them down a peg or two because they have been so open in trying to leave? I don't know. It's been an interesting one on that front as well. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the politics play out of that.
Yeah, and that offer, it's not like they've gone up and said, listen, we just kind of want to turn up and play. Would you be up for it? They said, no, here's, based on valuations, $250 million for us to go over to see you, and they've been told no. And one of the storylines, one of the things that really interests me is one, seeing Jake Retzlaff go over to Tulane, and how that entirely plays out with it being well, I would say interesting, and that's probably not the correct term to use for what's gone on the last few weeks for him. But what's gone on with the last few weeks and all that sort of stuff, and how doesn't it work out because he didn't use the transfer portal? He works out as a walk-on at Tulane this year in just the way that these college athletics work. But I've just got the Tulane schedule up. Oh no, I haven't, because it's decided FB schedules. I love you, but please, actually load the page properly.
They've got that tough. They've got a really tough run at the end of October. Yeah,
yeah, towards the end of October.
Army, UTSA, Memphis.
Yeah, and I believe. Oh no, there we go. It's
2-1. I think if they can come out of that run, Army at Tulane, Tulane at UTSA, and Tulane at Memphis. If they can come out 2-1, I think they'll probably hold on to win it.
two on the road at UTSA and Memphis, and at home to Army. If you can walk away 2-1 from that, you're very, very, very happy. And they've got the game against Northwestern to start off. I know Northwestern are a Big Ten team, but as a Big Ten fan, we don't like to say that. We South Duke as well. Duke at home or not, Duke is a tough game to go against. That is a tough schedule with well, sorry, even then Duke, and then you're at Ole Miss.
At Old Miss, yes, a
At
tough
Ole Miss,
2 week schedule. Yeah,
that is a tough schedule. Tulane are very good, and hopefully with Jake
It's
Retzlaff, but
it's
it's
the one
tough.
reason why I've sort of not backed Tulane this year. I just think their schedule's that little bit too hard. I think, having Duke and Ole Miss back to back, and then having Army, UTSA, and Memphis back to back to back, it has everything that sort of screams something's going to fall apart, or someone serious is going to get injured, and it's all going to sort of unravel. But like I say, I mean, they could easily sort of, you know, they could, like I said, they could come out of those games maybe out of those 5 games, maybe sort of 3-2. They're looking in a really strong position. So
yeah.
It's a tough stretch. Let's not forget the prevailing storyline in that Duke game too is the whole Darian Menson saga with him
Yes,
coming back to the team he just transferred out of and
yes,
led
And
to a really
bounce back
successful
again.
season last year. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I don't know if you can call it a saving grace, but running into that stretch against Army, UTSA, and Memphis, they've got East Carolina on the 9th of October, and they play Army on the 18th. That's a
9 days, yeah.
9 day even, sorry, break, which is it's like at one of those half
Tantamount
bye
to a bye
type
week,
things.
isn't it? Yeah, near enough. So
Um,
it's
so you get
and
that little bit
and they've
extra rest.
and they've also got 12 days in between Army and UTSA.
mm,
Yes, yeah. So you've got a couple of buys or mini buys. So you at least throughout that stretch get some form of the recovery is slightly better and things like that. And as well, given that 2 of them on the bounce are on the road, that's probably very much welcome for Tulane. But again, it's just for
yeah,
me
but
that is
in the
that
flip
is
side of
rough.
that, you're saying that's a brutal schedule, and you look at Navy's schedule, and they've almost got a bit of a cakewalk in comparison. Yeah, I'm looking at it; they've got what 3 tough games on their schedule.
Um, where is the Navy one? Hang on, let me get the Navy up.
VMI, UAB, Rice Air Force, at Temple, FAU. They're at Fighting Irish with Nick. They're at Memphis,
Yeah.
and then it's got the Army Navy game at the end. I mean,
I mean, they start at Texas A&M, which will be a very tough game. And I think they'll walk out of that with a loss, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I think maybe after that you've maybe got, obviously Tulane will be a tough game. And then the Army game's always a very tough game. You can never, obviously
yeah,
rivalry, you can never sort of rule out any sort of crazy games that happen with that. So
yeah. I think for both those teams, they both want that. Do you want that game to be meaning anything, or are you expecting that game to be kind of just a beat 'em up?
I think that could be potentially a game that will decide who. I mean, like with anything, it could be the game that decides who wins the conference, but it just then depends on how the likes of Memphis and Tulane do. If they can, you know, if they can go and win the game, those games in between each other, if they can, whoever comes out on top of those, it may then decide if the Navy Army match actually means anything. But in terms of the conference, but I think it could easily go down to that game in terms of who wins the conference.
So the Army Navy game is not going to have any bearing on the conference race one way or the other. So they've actually set up the rivalry since Army joined the AAC for that game to be a non-conference matchup for the foreseeable future. For the main reason that the 2 schools wanted to maintain that TV slot that they have, where they're the only FBS game that Saturday because money and
Hmm. Because
the
the American military are short on money, right?
Oh yeah, they're standing on the corners with
Yeah,
little mugs
little
begging for change.
panhandling.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
it's embarrassing. But no, so basically the compromise with the AAC there was that game will be non-conference because to comply with the kind of the college football selection calendar, they need to decide who the conference championship is. So they need to get the conference championship out of the way, pick a winner,
Yeah.
and then they can still play the game, and it can, you know, still have all
Come
the
with it,
same
all of it.
pageantry and exactly,
And
but
that's
it
why
ultimately
you're
won't
here.
count towards the.
See, we
And
would
that's
have
why you're here.
absolutely we'd have banged on about that being the conference decider, and
So,
Joe sitting there
so
going, "These guys have
with
no idea what they're
that
talking
game,
about."
then does that mean it'll have? So if say that game, say both teams go into that game sort of 8-2, and one of those wins, obviously one loses. What could it not, will it not have any bearing on how the conference are placed? Obviously, if one of them finishes 9-2 and the other finishes 8-3 and the rest finish all 8-3, will it still not?
Yeah.
Will it still have an impact? It could still have an impact, but not necessarily deciding the conference if everyone's in terms of the conference like win-loss schedule, I suppose. Win-loss
Well, I
result.
mean, yeah, I mean, it won't have any bearing on who wins the conference because the championship game will be the previous weekend.
Right. Okay.
I will say that it kind of depends on where Navy, if Navy is one of these teams that performs the way that we think they're going to, and they make this easy schedule work and they end up winning the AAC. And then on the other side of the country, you have, the Mountain West, and something wild happens out there, and Boise State just do not play well and don't earn, their spot in the playoff conversation. Then we'll start looking towards, the winners of the AAC most likely to kind of see who gets that G5 playoff spot. At that point, depending on what Navy's record is, if they come out against Army and get beat pretty bad, then that can ultimately kind of affect where they're going to get placed. So that's kind of the that's
So
one
it means nothing, but it
additional
could mean
thing.
everything.
Correct. It doesn't mean anything in the AAC race, but in addition to everything that it usually means, it could potentially affect whether or not these teams, whether or not someone goes to a playoff, if that's where they're at in the state of things
What
at the
I
time.
didn't realize is my ability to count as real. It is technically the 12th game in their list, and that's what I was thinking. Like, because looking at it now,
your winning record, your records
it
didn't
makes
add up. I
sense.
was like, that's them.
So, I think the real takeaway from all of this is due to the US military being stood on street corners handing out quotes for change. This is what Notre Dame beating up on the military every year does to the. So Nick, this is all your fault.
Sword
Of course
fight
it is. It's
Irish.
always my fault.
It's
Those
always
damn independents. Those damn independents.
Nick's always hating on the American army. It's always the case, isn't it?
It's just what
Any
Notre
form
Dame
of the
do,
American
really.
army.
They're just so anti-American. It's unbelievable.
Guys, we have an American guest. Let's turn it out like this.
So I'm being pro US here. It's Notre Dame that we need to have the problem with.
So we're anti-Irish, even though we're flying to Ireland next month. That's a good plan.
I'm sure. I'm sure there'll be more to chat about soon. But what I wanted to just kind of bring up here as well, really quick, is let's say Tulane. I'm gonna want to talk about Tulane one more time with that schedule, because this is why I don't personally have Tulane winning the conference, but I have them if they can go. I'm looking through it. I think they could beat Northwestern. Let's say they beat Duke at home, lose to Ole Miss, they go 3-1. That's 5-1 there. They can go 2-1 down that stretch. That is 7-2. They realistically could go 10-2, if not 9-3, with wins over a Big Ten team, with wins over Duke, and at least 1 or 2 wins over Army, UTSA, and Memphis. Don't think they get it. Well, they won't win a conference, so they don't get any auto bids into the playoffs. But with a record like that, do you think they could be teetering on the edge of? I'm just thinking of G5 teams in general, but I'm thinking if anyone can do it with the schedule they've got and all that, and how we take certain things into account, could someone like a Tulane be on the edge of those 12, or is there too much P4 bias, P5 bias?
So yeah, that was kind of the question of whether or not the G5 could get 2 teams in last year, and ultimately, like it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot of things falling into place. Like you're gonna have multiple G5 teams really excel in their respective non-conference schedules, which could happen. But you're going to need you're just basically going to need several of these G5 conferences to have clear front runners, or just like it almost was with Boise State and UNLV last time, or last season rather, just two teams that leave everybody else in the dust and then beat up on each other. But ultimately, that could still kind of hurt them in the long run when Arizona State kind of jumped in at the last second there and surprised everybody and kind of knocked BYU out of the playoff race as a result. So it's not impossible, but I guess for lack of a better term, yeah, there's plenty of bias again, or in favor of rather, a lot of these power conference teams because of kind of the strength schedule. That's something that the committee values a lot. And there's not a ton of G5 representation in the top like 50, really. But if those teams that are within that category of the strength of schedule metric do very well, then they can kind of make a strong case for themselves in that regard as well. Like a good example that's actually kind of a little bit of a sleeper, I think, is actually San Jose State. If you kind of look at them, they're in the top 50 as far as strength of schedule. Their in conference schedule is actually fairly easy, but their non conference games, they go to Texas, they play at Stanford, they have Central Michigan, and they have Idaho. So I mean, if they can win, they're not going to beat Texas, but if they win those other ones, and then kind of plow through their the bottom half of the Mountain West, which is kind of what it looks like their conference schedule could be, that could put them in a really good place to take advantage of either Boise State or UNLV if they can get into the top two. If the other team in that scenario is beat up or tired or what have you. So
yeah. So gonna move on again, conscious of time. We'll move on to my favorite conference in all of, well, other than the Big Ten, my favorite conference in all of college football, home of the mighty Kennesaw State. Before we do so, though, I'm going to run around the room one time and request your prediction. So I have gone with Memphis, taking into account their schedule as well. Gary,
Navy.
Nick.
I would have gone Memphis, but I went Tulane last year. They won last year, so we'll ride that train again. Tulane,
Yeah,
Ride that green wave.
indeed.
live by the sword, die by the sword. I like it. Sam,
Army.
and Joe, do you want to partake in this one?
yeah, I think right now I'm going to say Navy, but I might change my mind in a month. That's what I do sometimes.
Unfortunately, there is the number one rule when doing this is no backsies.
Nah.
It's we play street rules over here on this.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
It's all right, Joe. I've changed my mind from last week, and I'm stuck with it. So,
But you've got 12 hours before he releases the episode to change your mind.
no. It's in the doc. It's in the Google Doc. It's end
It's
of.
about
It's
done.
Google Doc official. So, now we move. Okay, now we move on to the best. Let's face it, it's the best G5 conference. It's home of the mighty Kennesaw State. We're on to Conference USA. I would say I'll go first on this one, but nobody needs this. We all know how my pedestal, me standing on my soapbox, will go. Gary, Sam, Nick, do any of you want to weigh in on this one first?
I think, I don't think anybody saw sort of Jacksonville State coming last year. You know, they just came out of nowhere, and fair play to them. I think Liberty, for me, I will back Liberty. I think
Sam, do it.
they've got a chance. So I think they're probably the best of the rest. and I don't need to jump on that Kennesaw State train, and you can ride that on your
You're
own.
riding that. You're the driver. You're the conductor. You're everybody. You're all the passengers as well. I think there's enough. There's enough
We
shots, but there's enough hoo-ha coming out of you about the Kennesaw State
we
Owls.
don't need we don't need anybody else. We
No.
don't. Kennesaw
Best team in
State
Georgia, right?
by far. Kennesaw State versus everybody. I can see by Joe's face here, he agrees with me. It's fine, and I'll ride this shit. I'm done. There we go.
Yeah, moving on then. Everyone's choosing the Kennesaw State Owls. Right, move on.
Yeah, that's what's in the Google Doc. So no. Though I do want to just say we were talking about Liberty as favourites. They lost one game last year. Can't remember it was two. They were unbeaten at the time. So I'll have to come back to me. I'll have to Google that one. Sam, how are you
Yes.
feeling about Conference USA this year?
I've pretty much gone down the same road as Nick. I think Liberty are just going to. I mean, I know that they obviously, didn't win last year, but I just think that their team is just, a little. It's just such a strong team, for this conference. So for me, I just think that they are just that little bit better than everyone else, to be honest. So yeah, I've got Liberty to hopefully take it back this year.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, this one's intriguing. I think Liberty are a valid pick. They brought in Ethan Vasco at quarterback, who played under Jamie Chadwell for several years there at Coastal Carolina, knows his system, knows what's expected, and knows how to be successful in those circumstances. So I can totally see why. They've got a lot of speed, got quite a few pieces as well. I just want to see what they can accomplish without kind of the main spark plugs from the last couple of years in Quentin Cooley and Caden Salter, who now have moved on to other places. Western Kentucky, I think, are also fascinating because of their quarterback. They brought in a guy in Maverick McIver, who was a really successful FCS quarterback at Abilene Christian, started his career at Texas Tech before that. And, now I think if you look at Western Kentucky's offense under Tyson Helton, it's a system that just really allows quarterbacks to put up excessive numbers. They throw the ball so much. It's what he calls kind of air raid adjacent. But it's a lot of air raid principles, and they've been fairly successful with it. I don't know if they're super complete. I think the defense has kind of been a problem for them and allowing huge chunks of yardage and kind of putting them in positions where they have to succeed in red zone situations, which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'll also say I think Louisiana Tech kind of have the opposite problem. I think they have a really, really solid defense, but I really look at their quarterback room and I'm not particularly impressed. Though they have some experience there with Evan Bullock. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm gonna say Liberty as well right now. But I'll also say keep an eye on Western Kentucky and Louisiana Tech. And as far as individual guys, I fully expect Florida International's quarterback Keon Jenkins to just go nuts. I mean, he's an incredible athlete, but I don't know that he has that much around him.
Yeah, Gary.
Sam Houston, my sort of sneaky pick on that one. I think they made a jump. They on the up. I mean, they have lost a fair piece. They lost their edge rusher. Their new QBs come in. I don't know. Just I think you're always in Conference USA's Liberty seems to be the default because they have been there for so long, and as you say, their squad is good and whatever else. But I just think Sam Houston made a big jump. I think Middle Tennessee with Joe, you can help me out there with the QB. I think he's probably going to be enough to get them a few wins on his own. So I think those two might kind of throw a few spanners in the works, but I've got a slight hunch that Sam Houston might just push Liberty a little bit closer than everyone's thinking.
Yeah,
You're thinking of Fonter Watson. He's very solid, very good dual threat guy.
Yeah.
I was listening to some talk on Western Kentucky the other day, and when it came to portal, just what they got in the portal. I was very disappointed when I looked up Maverick McIver. and realised what a name it was, and it's McIver, not Maverick.
Not MacGyver.
Well,
That's MacGyver.
And I was ready to just shut up and take my money. I'm going to run to my betting provider and just say, give me everything on Western Kentucky for this reason alone. I'm going to stay with Liberty. It's a safe pick. I'm not pushing the boat out here. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel on this. Liberty is the safe pick. Liberty is arguably the best one. But I agree, and I'm glad you mentioned Louisiana Tech, because when it came down to Liberty and Western Kentucky, I never really gave Louisiana Tech a proper look in, but it was they were being mentioned. I had thoughts around them initially, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they pan out this season. So right, okay. I should do a better job of note taking as you talk while I'm trying to read my notes as well. So we'll do one more. I know you've mostly said, but just as an official, put it down on paper. Gary, Conference USA champion.
Sam Houston.
Nick.
Liberty.
Sam.
Liberty. Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to finish it.
Go on, say it.
Joe.
Liberty, I think, on my
Liberty.
Okay.
That's what you were going. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what I
obsessed
was
with
waiting
that advert.
Yeah, that's the level, Joe. I'm afraid. Yeah, we were just hoping you got 3 liberties in a row so that you could actually do the jingle.
So, are we not doing? Every time last season we mentioned it, Sam was the first one to go Liberty, and then it was mentioned. I said, Sam, do it, and you just didn't.
It's only because it's every time you're watching the NFL coverage over here, it's the advert that always pops up.
The one that sneaks in, doesn't it? It sneaks in before anything
the producer can switch it out, and it's always that very first one that catches the producer off guard, and it's just the jingle. Yeah, I know.
Now, I think moving on to the next conference to talk about, again, we're going in alphabetical order. This is my favorite actual conference. Because do you know what? On a weird Tuesday night or a weird Wednesday night at 3 a.m, when I'm still up, and I just think, what if there was some college football on right now? Could you just imagine? But then you have midweek action, and midweek action cures that itch for you throughout the season. It's the best. So we are on to the Mid-American Conference, otherwise known as the MAC. We'll throw to our esteemed guest again, I think, to start this one off.
Well, thank you. MAC's gonna be fun this year. A lot of new faces, new coach at Ohio, replacing. Oh my gosh, I'm just blanking. But quarterback Parker Navarro is Tim Alpin was the head coach that just left. But Parker Navarro, quarterback, I like what he's done the last couple of years. I think he's got that locker room, great leader. Everyone's talked about. He's super tall, so that helps as well. Ohio brought back quite a bit of guys from this MAC championship team that they had last season, so I think that really helps them. I think another intriguing storyline to watch in the MAC as well is over in Oxford, Ohio, the Miami Redhawks got DeQuan Finn, who, if you followed MAC football for the last couple of years, you'll remember he was the quarterback of that Toledo team a couple of years ago, who I won the MAC championship. And then he went to Baylor, didn't really work out, and now he's back in the Mid-American Conference for the team that he beat in the MAC championship game a few years back. So, I think it's going to be a race between those two teams again. However, I'll also say what Buffalo's been able to do so far under Pete Lembo has been really, really impressive. They bring back a guy in Red Murdoch who was second in the country, I believe, in tackles, second only to his teammate who's now in the NFL. or at least getting the opportunity to prove he belongs in the NFL anyway. But he's a monster. He's going to be fun. I think they've got a lot of guys coming back on that team as well, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. So I'll say Miami and Mac 1 and 2, Buffalo a close third in the Mac.
Yeah, I'm very much in it. Well, my only concern with, and I mean, I kind of have got Miami Red Hawks to be the team that I think are going to win it. The only concern I have, obviously, they brought in Dion Colsey from Notre Dame, and then they've got obviously the offense seems to have changed quite a bit, but they've brought in quite a few good, interesting pieces. My only concern is their defense. Whether I know a lot of I think did they only make something like 2 or 3 Well, they only brought in 2 or 3 defensive players, and I think they're hoping that a lot of the guys that are backups from last year are basically going to step up again like they did last year. My only concern is that whether that defense will be good enough to hold up against the other teams. But I think that I personally think that they could be the team that'll win it. This was for me an interesting conference because I think that like it's very much similar to what we said about the AAC. I think there's 2 teams that are sort of out and out, and then there are a couple of potential dark horses. I think Bowling Green did really well last year. I think they could be another one that could potentially upset a few. And I think was it Northern Illinois could be another one that could potentially upset a few. But yeah, I think it's Miami and Ohio that I think are going to be the 2 that will fight it out. But I think Miami may just take it.
Since we're talking about ex Notre Dame guys too, Drew Pine starting quarterback at Bowling Green now. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean
Georgia
that conference there's only 4 teams that have got a top 100 prediction. Miami and Ohio and Buffalo and Toledo. I think the winner is going to come from one of those 4. Nobody else to me is going to come close. You look at someone like Toledo, and whereas last year they played well, but then they also had some slip-ups. They went and lost to the Akron Zips, but they go and beat Pitt and Mississippi. So it's like, I don't know. This is the one I found the hardest to choose because I think this is the most competitive one. This is the wide open one that I really found it difficult. But yeah, I mean,
I think one thing to mention about Miami, just looking at their schedule, they've got to play Ohio, Toledo, and Buffalo at the very back end of the year as well. So they finish with Ball State. So I mean, nice little finish. But the 3 games before that
might be too late for them by then.
It's make or break on that season in terms of where they finish in that last 3 stretch. Because I can't see, apart from maybe Wisconsin at the start, I can't see them losing too many of their first 2, 4, 6, 8 games. I think it'll be 7-1 going into that Ohio, Toledo, Buffalo stretch, and I've actually got them losing 2 of those games. But if they, like I say, if they go 7-1 and win 2 of those last 4, lose 2 of those last 4 games, they'll still be like 9-3. So again, could still win it, but it'll just depend on how others do. But
yeah, Toledo. As far as Toledo goes, last year I watched quite a few, if not I think all the games at some point. The main problem Toledo consistently had last season was shooting themselves in the foot. There were so many silly mistakes, so many just look, I know it's Jason Candle's, is it 10th or 11th season as head coach of Toledo? And look, it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what.
Well, this is his 11th year, isn't it?
Which level? I can't remember. It doesn't matter what level you are at in pro sports. You have those seasons where things don't quite go your way. But yeah, the problem for me last year was consistently was Toledo making consistent mistakes that were shooting themselves in the foot. Those are the things you've got to clean up, and those are the things that I would imagine a head coach of the tenure of someone like Jason Candle, a lot of those things will hopefully get cleaned up. The schedule isn't ridiculously difficult. I mean, you've got Kentucky first game of the season in Kentucky. You got Western Kentucky, Morgan State at Michigan, Western Michigan. You got Akron at home, at Bowling Green in the Battle of I-75, which is that one's always really, really fun to watch. Kent State at Washington State, Northern Illinois at Miami, Ohio, Ball State at Central Michigan. I don't see any reason why Toledo can't run it this year. And they are who I am currently backing to take it this year. I will stick with the Rockets, on the basis of Jason Candle sorts of stuff out, and they clean up the silly mistakes from last season.
You make an interesting point. They got absolutely killed in the transfer portal prior to last season. So hopefully some of these guys that have stuck around from that campaign have actually learned from the mistakes. And, I think the big offensive story for them is going to be Tucker Gleason again. I mean, he was fantastic most of the time last year. 24 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, over 60% completion rate. So if they can keep him protected, keep him healthy, I think they're going to be in fairly decent shape. But yeah, not a terrible non-conference schedule, to say the least.
And the only thing, I think Northern Illinois, this is their last season in the MAC. I'm not saying that as in like, let's see if they can really stick it to the MAC and run up the table. I just think it's an interesting side note. Before they move on. So, as far as the MAC goes, I'll put mine in here. Again, going round the table, I'm gonna go in reverse order this time because I'm feeling whimsical for the MAC. Joe,
Ohio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that Miami, Ohio, or Ohio?
Ohio. Yeah.
Sam.
It's
Miami, Ohio.
Nick.
10 minutes ago, I would have had one team. Yesterday, I had another team, but I changed my mind, like I said a few minutes ago. I'm going to go Toledo. I was going to go Miami, Ohio, but I have changed my mind, and I'm going Toledo.
I was about to be very humorous and say, see, I've convinced Nick to... And then you just did the thing that it wasn't humorous anymore. It's true. I've done it. Gary.
Because they're returning most of their defense, I've got a sneaky suspicion the Bulls are going to be a tough team to beat. So I think Buffalo might actually be the ones to take the step.
Buffalo. Lovely. Right. Okay.
Just because I wanted to be different as well, really.
Sure.
Do you know, but don't hate it. We like it. I encourage it. The Mountain West now. Always a fault. This is a division where you almost every year. This is where, if you're looking at the G5 contender for the college football playoffs, I think this is where you're looking at is the best place to start with this conference. Last year's winners, last year's entrance into the playoffs, last year's
media darlings,
Heisman Trophy runner-up, who just lost him Ashton Genty to the NFL draft. Boise State. Is that where you have to start with Boise State in the Mountain West, don't you?
I think we've got to start by talking about the fact the Mountain West is pretty much no more after this year as well, right? Because, it's the mass exodus of all the states coming at the end of this. What's going to happen to the Mountain West? This is the Pac-12 light, if you like, where all the states are going to disappear. So that's going to be an interesting. Is it a farewell tour for the Mountain West, or is there going to, because it's probably not going to recover for a long time once it loses, however many it is. I can't actually remember how many they're leaving. Is it 6, 7 or something? Five. Is it all the states are going, aren't they, basically? Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting sort of farewell tour of that. but yeah, you tend to be. Do you look past Boise State because they've been the team to beat for a number of years? I'm not sure if there's
I
anybody
think
out there.
the one thing I would say about Boise State, and the one thing that they've probably done, which it reminds me of what Man United are doing at the moment in just trying to buy players from teams around them, is that they've basically just taken a load of Midwest Conference pieces from other teams to build their team. So they've brought in
Mhm.
the likes of sort of Malik Sherrod from Fresno, got Dion, the defensive tackle Dion Washington, um, and then you've brought in other players like Malachi Williams. I just think they're just building up the team that to basically just take it back again. Um, and to be honest, I think they've done well in sort of bringing in enough players to just be able to stay as strong as they already are in this conference. And yeah, I mean, when I was first looking through sort of the other teams that could potentially compete, it was for me it was sort of the other three teams that were sort of there last year with UNLV, Colorado, and Fresno, and I just looked at all of those teams and still thought Boise was stronger.
Yeah.
So for me, I can't look past Boise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on, Joe.
I think I'm in the same boat as far as Boise this season. I think it would take just a catastrophic meltdown on their part for someone else to win the league. I mean, yes, you lose Ashton Genty, but I think you've got two guys in that backfield in Malik Sherrod and Sire Gaines who can help make up for that production loss. You can't expect either one of them to have an individual season like he had, but combined, I think they'll be solid. Maddox Madsen, another year wiser, another year better under center. I think that helps a lot. And I think the big thing that I hope people recognize with this Boise State team too is they're bringing back most of a really really good offensive line. I mean,
Yes.
they have some big mean dudes on offensive line and defensive line. Once again, I mean that was really the big reason they were so good last year, and it all starts with Cage Casey, All American offensive tackle for them. So yeah, they because they bring back so many of those guys, and if they stay healthy, I don't know that there's another unit in this league that really compares to theirs up front. So
I thought they added quite well to the offensive line with Miles Walker as well. I thought that was a good acquisition.
mhm.
Another big guy from Ohio State, and they even took another Notre Dame guy in Jaden Mickey as well. I'm not really looked up much about him, but Nick, you might be able to give a bit more around the cornerback from Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think he was. I would have preferred he stayed with the fact that losing a couple of corners over the off season anyway. I would have preferred he stayed, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean for me, there's I don't know whether anyone else has seen it, so it might be pointless. But there's a video on Twitter and TikTok and whatever, and it's this speed skater from the Olympics, and he sets off and he sprints round and joins the back of the pack, and then just
They all
follows
forget. They all
and
forget he's there. Yeah.
yeah, and he just follows the pack all the way round, doesn't quite lap them, and then he wins the race and gets his goal. That's kind of what UNLV and Boise State did last year. Both of them just almost lapped the field, and just took it to the house. Against non college playoff teams, Boise State went 12-0. Against non Boise teams, UNLV went 11-1. So it's like those two, it's one of two really, and I just think. Can Boise State run it back? Probably. Can UNLV fight all the way? Probably. It's a flip of a coin for me, to be honest.
I want to throw out, like, I like the point made about the old line, and one of the things that we like to talk about on here is something you don't get. Just the nature of college football means you don't always get much consistency year on year. which is why the trifecta of head coach, OC, quarterback returning year on year is always a really good thing. And then you had DCs into it. You had a one thing I don't think we speak enough about is returning offensive line production and having offensive line members who are juniors and seniors and have that experience and things like that, especially in college football, is just so valuable. And for a team like Boise, and that's why, look, I was umming and ahhing about Boise a couple of weeks ago, and then I was listening to someone else talk about O lines and how just you look at, they pointed out that Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, and Notre Dame all had freshmen. The O line that all four teams had were really experienced, and that is there's a reason that all four of them. That's not a coincidence with all four of them making the college football semifinals. And then looking at boys and go, okay, well, how old and where are we at with the experience on some of these? Then I went straight back on. I'm also on the Boise State train. One thing I do think is really interesting is last year I backed Fresno State. They've got first year head coach Matt Entz in this year, who is a 2-time FCS winning head coach, 60-11 record in the FCS. So I have researched something this week. And with I was really, really hoping I could come back and say, no, Fresno State will do it this year. First year head coach coming out of the FCS. He was at USC last year, but first year head coach, I don't think they will. But I'm just hoping that they have a very, very good season. But I think I'm going to run with everybody else here and say, put that blue field back in the playoffs.
But they're just too strong. You look at them, as you say, you got Madsen back at QB. They got most of their offensive line. Importantly, you've got their lead edge rusher from last year back again. He had 10 sacks. They sacked people left, right, and center last year. They're just too strong. They're just too strong for this conference. They shouldn't be in this conference. Fortunately enough, they won't be next time around. But they're that team that would your perennial winners, and they're just too strong. You can't look past them. I wanted to say I'm going to go for the Spartans just to break the chain and just to break the monotony of the fact that we're all calling Boise State. But I agree, that blue field is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah. Well, isn't that nice that we all agree though? It's just making my copy and paste job a lot easier.
Really easy.
Hang on, whoa. I never said I was going Boise State.
Wait,
But
you never said it. You are.
I never said it.
You never said it, but you all assumed it.
Well, if you ask me the question, you might.
Oh, okay, Nick.
I'm going UNLV.
I think they're tailing off this year. I don't even think they come second.
Well, I was about to say the way I've heard people speak, and I would say that this would be the case most. I would say you've got a 1A, 1 kind of B in UNLV. Is that the championship game sorted? But
quite possibly it was that last year, wasn't it?
Gary probably think it's going to be Wyoming.
That'll be the Spartans.
I think San Jose State's a fairly safe bet to be kind of right there on the edge for all the reasons I said earlier. But I mean, they got a solid quarterback coming back. Walker Eget. Ken Niumatalolo's getting comfortable again, and which is I'm surprised how quickly he's kind of found some semblance of success there, given this offense that they're running is not even remotely similar to what he ran at Navy for so long. I think that's a testament to Craig Stutzman coming in and at OC and making things happen there. But they've got some solid receivers. I don't think any of them are Nick Nash, but again, workload by committee. So yeah, San Jose State, I think, is going to make things interesting because of easy schedule, fairly decent, pool of returning talent. And if UNLV can't find their groove in the last 6 weeks of the season, then they'll be right there ready to pounce.
Yeah. Lovely. we did this last year because why the hell not? It's fun. I'm not going to ask anyone to go truly in depth on this one, but we're going to decide the pack two as well. This will boil down to at the end of the day, they will play each other in the season. We're either gonna we might go off.
Is it the pack 1-2?
Yeah, the pack 1-2. The conference for sound engineers, that one. But with 1 year to go before they kind of stock back up on a load of those Mountain West teams, we will decide it. Now, again, Joe, I need your help with this one. Shall we go off just whoever wins the game between the two, or do we go off overall season record for this one?
Well, keep in mind this year they're going to play twice, which is very not common in this neck of the woods. So yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind. I think you can kind of look at the big thing, and that's consistency. I mean, you look at Oregon State, most of their main pieces from last year somehow, at least offensively, are coming back. Lost a little bit on the offensive line, but they're bringing back Van Wells at center, kind of holding that down. Really a big reason why they had so much success in run blocking last year. Anthony Hankerson's coming back from injury. He's looking like he's ready to have another solid year. They've got a younger back coming up behind him in Saladin Allah, who's very solid. Malik Murphy, the ex-Duke and Texas quarterback, transferred in. That was the biggest storyline of their offseason by far. Pretty high expectations for him. And I think the biggest thing for them too, the other biggest thing I should say, is how Trent Bray is going to handle kind of a dual job this year, because keep in mind, they lost their defensive coordinator in the offseason in kind of an odd scenario. And, basically a guy just stepping down saying, I kind of got to figure out what I want to do with my life now. So Trent Bray says, well, I'll just call defensive plays then. So he's the head coach and the defensive coordinator for all intents and purposes. So I think they're the older, more experienced, a little bit of a deeper team. Washington State, I don't quite know what to make of it, because they've got they picked up a lot of really good transfer players. However, most of those guys are FCS players from places like South Dakota State, where their new head coach, Jimmy Rogers, just came from. And keep in mind, he also won a national title at South Dakota State, too. So I think people are really expecting him to kind of come in and really infuse this philosophy that he's found success with into this Washington State program. The problem is it's going to take some time to kind of mold this thing in his image, and for him to kind of get familiar with the recruiting hotspots that Washington State has traditionally found a lot of good success, i.e. Seattle, Southern California, that sort of thing. So I don't think it's going to be an instant turnaround. But they've got a really experienced quarterback in Zevi Eckhouse, who stuck around through all the turmoil this offseason. I think he's going to be helpful there. They've got most of their offensive line coming back. I don't think there's a true star in that wide receiver room, but they've got about 3 or 4 guys that I think will contribute. I don't really know what to make of the defense. It's a lot of untested, unproven guys, or some of these guys that followed from South Dakota State, and still, I don't think I've had a ton of experience going up against the kind of competition that they're going to see this year. So I'm going to say Oregon State, quote unquote, wins the Pac-2, just because they have a little bit more in the toolbox to start the year.
Yeah. So yeah, okay.
I went Washington State last year, and that didn't work out for me. So I'm going to jump ship, and I'm gonna go Oregon State this year. Watch, Washington will win it now. No, I'll go Oregon.
Okay. Sam.
I actually completely forgot about the Pac-12 or the Pac-2.
Pack 1-2.
It did no look on them. So I'm just going to run it back with Oregon State, because me and Fletch, we picked them last year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick them again this year.
By the way, do I remind everybody that when I tallied up all the correct answers at the end of last year, I won with the most correct conference predictions? Do we go with that one and just say you need to follow me on what I do because I know ball better than everybody else? Is that?
You
No,
also
okay.
did all the counting.
Well, apparently I
Nobody
only watched.
verified your numbers.
Yeah,
I only
nobody.
watched
Go for it.
Texas, so I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Apparently, I'm not very good at this. So
I'm so glad you got that in there.
So I was wondering where
I'm-
it was going to
it's
show up. By the way,
it's
I'm
gonna
choosing Washington just because.
it's going to be a feature in every single episode from now on. Get used to it.
Go on then, Sam. We'll bond it. No, I can't. No.
No, you can't
I was
say that.
about. I was
No.
about to say a sentence that in my head sounded great, and I figured out that it doesn't sound great out loud before it left my mouth. So I was gonna be. I'm sticking with you, Sam, by choosing Oregon State.
Okay.
Well done for rewording that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do you know what? It's
Would have been
not
taken
off.
off the air so quickly now.
It's not. It's not. It's not common that I get to figure that one out before it leaves my mouth. To be honest with you.
Well, your brain to mouth filter was working very well there, which is impressive.
Yeah. So moving on, Sam. Sam, are you ready?
Yeah.
So right, we're on to the Sun Belt Conference.
Woohoo!
Do you want to put some Raging Cajun? Do you want to get some Raging Cajun propaganda in early, or
Well, I can hold off for a minute. I'll let everyone
You
else.
sure? Are you sure?
Well, it's
Tell
fairly
you though.
obvious who I want to pick, just because that But I have taken some of the Sunbelt West into consideration. So I have got a winner for the
that's nice.
for the East. Sorry, I have got a winner for the East, but it doesn't matter because they're not going to win the whole thing. So.
And I'm going to guess that winner is Appalachian State because you and Nick are now the experts of Appalachian State.
No.
Oh.
Nope. Moving on. Yep.
I do like what they've done. Obviously, we had that conversation around Appalachian State, and I do think that hopefully they'll be able to get rid of that stigma of being a Slack 2 division team that gets the living shit kicked out of them. But no, they'll improve, but I don't see them being a challenger just yet.
Okay. Go on then. We'll run it back one more time because our guest is so esteemed. Joe, thoughts on the Sun Belt Conference in 2025, sir?
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why this league's so fun is because there's so much parity. I mean, if you look at the preseason poll, 8 of the 14 teams got first place votes, and I think that's the only FBS conference where that's the case. So I think there's so many fun storylines to watch in this league. But ultimately, I think it's going to be James Madison out of the East against Texas State in the West in the Sun Belt Championship game. We will see how well that pans out, but JMU, I can never bet against Bob Chesney because he's just found so much success everywhere he's been so far as a college coach. His quarterback room is loaded between Alonzo Barnett and Matt Sluka, and it even goes deeper than that. If it was just those two, they'd be set, but there's more there. And they've just got a lot of really experienced guys coming in, from some of whom followed from Holy Cross. They've got a couple North Carolina guys that came in with them. And so I think now that Chesney's had a little bit of time to kind of gel and really, shape the program in his image to some degree, I think it's going to start really showing on the field once again, and they'll pick up where they left off when Kurt Cignetti went to Indiana. And then Texas State, I mean, what GJ Kenny has done with that program is just so fantastic. I know this is their last year in the Sun Belt. It would be somewhat of a storybook ending if they managed to not just get to the title game, but end up winning it. They also have a fairly experienced team. They did lose a lot of the pieces that ended up getting them there last year. But they still have Lincoln Perry in the running back room there. Pare is how you spell that one. But and then I think defense too. I think they're going to have a couple of guys step up. I mean, losing a guy like Ben Bell, that kills them. But once again, I mean, I think all those guys that they found that were such a big part of that team, all those teams over the course of these last 2 years, with the exception of maybe Jordan McLeod, were virtual nobodies until they kind of stepped in there and let Kenny's staff develop them into what they ended up being before they either graduated or transferred to power conference schools. So I have faith in what they're doing. I think they were, obviously the Texas market helped their case for joining the Pac-12. But I think also a big part of it is they looked at what that staff is doing and what they're molding that program into and how quickly they've done it. And I think that's been a big part of it too. So I think that will somewhat continue as well. But yeah, I this league is so full of surprises, and there's a lot of really fun players to watch. So who knows?
Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add on to that?
As the only regular guest here who attended a Sunbelt game last year, I will say, while Joe was talking, I just dug back to my match review of that game. One of the poorest games I have ever seen. Old Dominion versus Georgia State. Punt, touchdown, punt, touchdown, punt, missed field goal. That was halftime. That was literally the first half of that game. Watching that game last year made me appreciate how good some teams are. And much as I would love to back Old Dominion, they've got a new album out. It's fantastic. I love it. On the football field, they are not going to get my vote. For me, James Madison win the East. They also win the conference championship game, and they win it against South Alabama. So that's where I've gone.
South Alabama without a QB. Interesting.
Well, fair. Okay, Sam, do you have anything? Are we Raging Cajun prop now?
Yeah, I mean, it was the way the last season ended for them. It was disappointing. Obviously, I think they had they lost Woodridge nearly suffered a horrendous injury, and that sort of, and their bowl game just didn't really pan out well. But I think that they could be an interesting one. I think they're going to go one of two ways with the players they brought in. I think they brought in quite a lot of good players for next year, especially some from the likes of LSU. They brought in the Ole Miss quarterback, forget what his name is now.
Walker Howard.
Yeah, that's it, Walker Howard. And I just think that they
I've done my homework there, Fletch. See?
I do think that they could potentially be. It'll be boom or bust. I think they're either going to do ridiculously well and be the sort of if the big teams if the big players can make big plays, they could easily be contesting and be the favourites for the West, and potentially face up against the other team that I think, again, following the same as Joe, I think JMU are just going to be too strong on that east side. I think they're a really solid unit, and we're looking at sort of the teams that they've got to play again. That I think the only two real games where I think they could potentially, there's only really one game where I think they potentially lose, and that's Louisville, second game in. So I think they're going to be really strong. But I'm going to be a bit of a homer and go for my Raging Cajuns and say that they're going to win the whole thing. Why not?
We'd expect nothing less. Quite frankly.
Again, they've got a really interesting couple of games. They've got Marshall and JMU back to back, and I think that could be a really telling time as to how they'll do in their season. And then they obviously finish with they've got Texas State third to last game, so again that could be an interesting one. But I think they're running the Rice of McNeese, Missouri will probably lose to, and then Eastern Michigan, which they should win. So I think starting the season 3-1 and then going into those two games against Marshall and JMU could be whether they sort of come out of that with 2 wins or a win and a loss or 2 losses. I think it will depend on how their season then goes, really.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw out there, I've not heard anything said. Well, the points I would have made have already been said. and the risk of just repeating the same points, I'm also going to go. I'm going to go with JMU to take the Sun Belt. But again, just to confirm, Gary, you've gone JMU.
JMU with Arkansas State in the West, but JMU to take the title.
And Nick.
JMU East, South Alabama West, JMU to take the title.
Okay. They're the only two I didn't fully note down. Wow. Well, actually, just to correct, Joe, you did say JMU, yes?
I did. Yeah.
You did. Okay, right. I thought I was going crazy for a second, then gaslighting myself. That is all of the Power Five. No, it's all of the G5 conferences.
We've got on the Power Five because they should be called that.
That is all of them discussed. And with a couple of minutes to go, I want you to think back to the 6 conference winners that you have chosen. And I want you to pick which one of those you see as the most likely. I think I know who it's going to be, who most of us will choose. But who out of those is most likely to take the auto bid for the G5 in this year's college football playoffs? So, if any, I'm gonna open the floor. I'm just gonna simply open the floor. Shout out as and when you have decided.
It's the Broncos, isn't it?
It's Boise's to lose. I agree with that. It's just a matter of can they stay healthy and can they, just not shoot themselves in the foot. There's so much experience on that team. I think that's unlikely, but that's why college football's great is weird stuff happens all the time. But yeah, I think in a world where, injuries are turned off or whatever, I'd imagine Boise State takes it again.
Yeah.
I think the fact that I was the only one that didn't pick Boise State means I have to pick the UNLV Rebels because I've got them to pick. I've got them to beat Boise. So if everyone else believes Boise are going to be the tip, then it has to be UNLV for me. Like I said, I look at how good both those teams were last year. So if Boise State fall off any more than we expect them to or to not, then the UNLV are going to be the team right behind them, hopefully, to pick up the pieces. So as everyone sits here and says, yeah, Boise State, as I went UNLV, I will have to sit here and say UNLV.
I think as we mentioned, I think if Boise don't do it and don't do what we all expect them to do, then I think we've got to flip back to the AC and think that Navy might be the next best ahead of UNLV, I think.
Possibly, yeah.
Now, I want you to bear in mind, by the way, that when I created the table earlier in the Google Doc, I've already inputted all of my decisions, plus I bolded the ones that I wanted to bold. Sam, which one do you want?
Boise.
You going Boise? We're not going. We're homering a bit with Raging Cajuns, but we're not going with them.
No, I don't think that. I don't. When you look at the teams individually, the Boise for me are just too. If you were to say that all of these group of 5 were to play each other afterwards and have their own little playoff round, so to speak, like a pre-playoff, I think that Boise would come out on top out of all of them. So that's my way of looking at it.
Do you know what? I feel I felt a bit earlier. I just why not? Give me Memphis instead. Thank you very much.
Oh,
give me Memphis.
Just to throw the cat amongst the pigeons because they want out. Just to snub the noses of the committee, the team that couldn't get into the Big 10, 12, whatever it was.
12. So again, over the next couple of week or so, the graphics for these decisions will make their way onto social media. I've already got the templates already sorted out, so literally it's just a case of importing logos. That's all I need to do, so it shouldn't take too long. So those graphics will make their way onto social media over the next few days. And with that in mind, I believe, given the time frame we were given, we've just made it in time to keep you here, Joe, to say a massive, massive thank you for joining us again this year to talk G5 with us. I think I speak for my other three co-hosts here when I say it has been a massive pleasure to have you on again and have you return.
It's been
Thank you
eye-opening
guys
for
so
us
much.
as well. I mean, we learned a lot there, even in that first initial Army Navy bit. You know, it shows why, you know, we need the expert opinion, because we were all banging the drum and you were just like, guys, that means nothing. You're like, oh, oh. Yeah, no, so I really appreciate you jumping on, Joe.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you guys so much for having me. To go back to that Army Navy thing, I texted my friend to check my facts, and the playoff selection happens before the Army Navy game, so it's even pointless for playoff selection.
Playoffs. Right.
However, it does count towards those schools' bowl eligibility, and obviously that means money, so it's not totally pointless.
Insignificant,
And
but it's just, yeah.
yeah, and then
Just
you get
out of-
to yeah,
I
you
was
get to
just saying
sing
to start
second.
off-
That's the big thing. Anyway.
Just out of curiosity, and just because obviously I know that you watch probably way more Group of Five stuff than we do. Obviously, I
Because he
mentioned before
can.
about the whole mini little playoff. Is it something that potentially that could, the way that obviously we've obviously done so much around sort of how the college landscape will look and how it could look and how it couldn't look and all of that. I'm assuming they're already out fledged before I've just said all that. But I just wanted to ask. Obviously, I know we have a different view on how playoffs and tiers and that work over here. So just to
Yeah.
throw out a question.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think you guys have it figured out with the how playoffs and league structures and relegation and that sort of thing is supposed to work. But for this, I would imagine it would eventually get towards that. I don't know how quickly it'll happen, but I think obviously the um, cynical slash realist side of me kind of looks at the way that this sport is going and knows that eventually the big money players, the Big Ten, the SEC, et cetera, are going to say, hey, we want all of this pie for ourselves. And maybe they'll bring the ACC and the Big 12 along with them, maybe not. But eventually, what I see happening is them kind of establishing themselves as their own championship, saying the G5 doesn't even compete for the same title. And then at that point, you kind of have to set up your own championship. If you go back 50 years, that's kind of the reason why the FCS exists in the first place. And I think ultimately it's just further splintering now that everybody's, kind of seen the, overall money that football can generate for, your school, your local economy, et cetera. And, so the short answer to your question is, yeah, I think that'll eventually happen. I think it's only a matter of time before we lose the illusion that schools that aren't part of these big, massive, worldwide brands are competing for the same championship, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens. But yeah.
Regarding that G5 comment, Sam, I'll remind you of that when I'm up at 3 a.m. on a random Wednesday night watching
Kennesaw State.
Kent State versus UMass and just say, what do you mean we don't watch college football?
Well, sorry, let me rephrase that. Apparently, I don't.
You only watch Texas.
You
So.
only watch Texas. But yes. But yeah, huge thank you, Joe, for coming on. Again, if you've been listening to this, and as you should do, as should be the case, and you feel so impassionate about it from listening to Joe speak, you can go and find Joe for his website, for all the social media. All the links will be in the description of this episode, whether you're on audio only or video on YouTube. Please go check them out, give them a follow, check out the website, and yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Joe.
Thank you guys.
Right, so one more time, thank you, Joe, for joining us and talking G5 with us. Now we've switched up the episode ever so slightly just because of the way that the timings have worked out. So the news is now. Nick, take it away with Nick's news, please.
Thank you. I was going to lead with a story we've been following over the last few weeks, Jake Ratzlaff. But obviously, if you've been listening to the podcast, we've already talked about the fact that he's now at Tulane. So you said it best, Fletcher. He's there as a walk-on. He's not guaranteed to play. But given that Tulane have lost TJ Finley to his behaviour and an arrest, you know, they've lost their other QB to Duke. Jake's going to walk in. He's going to walk in probably to the starting position, and I expect him to be good for the Green Wave. You know, so while he's not guaranteed to play, he hasn't got too much competition around him. So I do expect him to win out. Moving on, Georgia Tech. In a month's time, it will be a year since we watched them.
Dismantle the Florida State Seminoles, if you
Yeah.
just Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I'm glad you beat me there, Gary.
Yeah, I thought I'd get in early. Yep.
With a score of 1 chocolate bar to nil.
Yep.
They have signed their OC Buster Faulkner. Gotta love that. To a new 2-year, $3 million deal. So hopefully he can give anybody who wants to beat Florida State a tip, because he did it last year. And finally, as I have
did everybody else.
Well, yeah, everybody else did as well.
He led the way, though, didn't he? He led the way.
I gave everybody the blueprint.
Yeah.
As of, for some reason, I have been put on Bill Belichick watch for this pod. Your weekly Bill Belichick news. UNC have sold out their home game, their first game home game for Bill Belichick has sold out. It is the earliest point in time that UNC as a program have sold out. So, you know,
I thought you were going to say sold out using the sort of UK nomenclature there and being sellouts, but
no, I mean sellout as in there is no space at the inn, no tickets.
Is this the game against TCU?
Yes, I believe it is. So getting a ticket for Oasis, it is impossible. Even if you try and get
you can buy resale
so
tickets.
So you've hit me now with like FSU getting battered by Georgia. You've thrown in sneakily the chocolate bar, and now you've gone with the I was at Oasis this weekend and you weren't.
Actually, I was also playing on Fletch. Couldn't even get hospitality tickets, so he didn't even get to go either. So
yeah,
you can buy tickets to the game on resale, and it's £150 minimum, $150 minimum to get tickets.
Wow.
Which, for a college game, when you think about it, whereas you were looking at, I think there was some resale tickets for, was it the Jaguars or the Panthers last year that were basically around $10, $20?
$20, yeah, something really insane, wasn't
it? It's $150 to go and see Bill Belichick's first ever.
Bill Belichick's girlfriend's first ever game in charge.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's there. Everyone's only going there to see Jordan.
Yeah,
they're the news articles I've got for you. So I refer back to Sam's supplement for the next news story.
So I've got 2 pieces of news. The first one is to do with an ex-Texas player who went undrafted in the NFL draft that we just had.
Rather unsurprisingly,
in Isaiah Bond, after obviously he handed himself into the police after a warrant was out for his arrest for sexual assault. He has put in a defamation lawsuit against his accuser. That was put in last week. But either way, it's been dismissed. So he is no longer able to put in another case of defamation. and essentially it's just going to be a case of he's going to run with the narrative of it was consensual, and everything. So it's gonna, by the sounds of it, it's going to be quite a long-winded, messy situation that will probably end up with him paying out of court for whatever, as it normally does, and then he'll likely probably get some NFL team will take him on a whim, and hope that he sort of manages to turn whatever issues going around with that. The other piece of news, which I seem to be the bringer of bad news, obviously there's the sexual assault case. The other one, which is a sad one, and I think for me this is becoming all too regular at the moment. I think Nick and Fletcher were saying they were talking about one last week. Corey Adams, who played for Ole Miss, I think it was. It was Ole Miss. Has sadly been shot as a freshman. He was due to obviously play this year and has been shot along with 4 others who were injured but not critically. So they are fine. But unfortunately, he has lost his life. So again, it's just mad that this sort of the world that we live in, that 18-year-old kid who has everything going to college to play the sport he loves, losing his life in that way. So obviously, as always, our thoughts and condolences go out to his family, and to all of his friends and everyone around him. But again, just another sad case where we seem to be becoming far too regular at the moment in our college news. So hopefully we can have none of this next week. Would be quite nice. But yeah. So yeah,
it'd be quite nice to be talking about college football and the positives rather than, as you say, constantly having to report these sad stories, which is not that bad. I mean, the only thing I've got, obviously, from a Noel's perspective, is that the Castellanos has doubled down on his trash talking with the Alabama, so it's definitely heightening the visit of Alabama to Oak Stadium. He said he was still going to save them. He's still going to be they're not that good, and it was Nick Saban. Now that he's gone, they aren't that good. So I think fair play to him. He's trying to big up his new team. I just think all you've done is kind of like the touch paper and give them Alabama all the motivation they could possibly want. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah. So over to Fletcher's forum now, and this does actually feel a bit like a forum piece rather than an actual piece of news. But over the last couple of days, we've had the Big Ten media days. This does again pertain to Michigan. In the Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, has come out, and the Big Ten have wrote a letter to the NCAA regarding the Michigan sign stealing scandal. Tony Petitti has also come out and said that he doesn't want to discuss the contents of the letter, but it's currently believed that, and he has pretty much weighed in and said that the Big Ten,
enough, right?
The Big Ten believes that enough's enough. Yeah, enough's enough. Michigan has been appropriately punished so far. If not, it has gone too far, and Michigan should face no further punishment for the sign stealing scandal that took place. I'm not going to weigh in on my thoughts on the matter. I think you probably all guess, but yeah, the Big Ten have weighed in, said stop it now. Let's just call it quits, call it and move on. So
just out of interest, just as a little addition thing, and then I don't know because I, again, not been around for a little bit. How much have we talked about the new college football game?
Very, very little.
Not enough, because the past couple of weeks it's been me and Nick don't play it. And in fact, John, one horrible piece of news, I've not got it yet.
I've not got it.
I've already won 3 Heismans.
I wanted to bring in it's a mix of obviously college football 2026, also helmet headlines
Hey.
in that the light helmets are going to be in the new college game for the first time. So I just thought I'd throw that in.
I like it when
It's just a little bit of aesthetic. It's not really going to matter,
Yeah.
but I just thought I'd share that little bit of news that they are introducing light helmets into the college game.
When they produce this game on the PS4, I will play it. But as it's only produced on the PS5, and I don't
Yeah.
have a PS5, I don't play it.
No,
Simple as.
I don't think you're going to be playing. But I did share the introduction to the Virginia Tech game in the WhatsApp group, which I hope you appreciated.
Yes. I like watching some of the people play Michigan and listening to throughout the third and fourth quarter, listening to Mr. Brightside just get louder and louder and louder and louder and switch from song audio to crowd audio.
Stadium audio.
Right, okay. There is actually one piece of news that it has been requested, and it was requested about 10 minutes before Gary and Sam jumped on, prior to recording with Joe. College football legend, apparently. Ozzy Osbourne passed away the other day. He is apparently a college football legend because Crazy Train gets played at college stadiums sometimes. Mrs. Fletch has made sure that this requested that this piece of information comes in, and to be fair to Mrs. Fletch, has done all of the research herself to find out how this links to college football.
Fair.
So
we love it. We love a good tenuous link. We love a good tenuous link.
We do. And obviously, this link isn't tenuous. This is a legitimate, completely relevant link to college football that has been formed over generations.
Say chocolate if you're in a state of emergency. Fletch.
Blink 3 times.
You keep moving your head. If you're under duress, please state chocolate.
What is the symbol? Is it? Help is on the way. Stay on the phone.
Chocolate. No. So again, is there anything else before we go that has been missed?
No, not that I'm aware. If anything else has been missed, I've missed it too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying that the final thing I think we need to leave on is still for the next hour and 10 minutes, GMT, as of recording, it is 1 month to go until week 0 starts. Just on Saturday, it will be 4 weeks until, well,
we're all in Dublin.
Not all. Some of us are in Dublin.
Got a ticket if you want, Sam.
3/4. I would love to go, but I am not allowed, unfortunately. There is no way.
Baby comes first.
Well, it's more the fact that I actually would love to go to Dublin, and I can't go without her. And that would mean having to lug a baby along as well. So
that's where it gets fun.
This could be Hangover 2.0, 3.0. How many Hangover films were there?
There were 3.
There were 3.
Too many. Too many, I think.
Hangover 4.0. I think you could imagine. I know. Well, to be fair, next year, Little Man will be a little bit too old to be like proper Hangover. But I think the 4 of us rocking through Dublin, ready for TCU, UNC. I think
it's got to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be fantastic.
I mean, I am good because this year I actually like I really like Avery Johnson at Kansas State, so I'd have liked to have seen him live. But in all honesty, if I had the choice of either Kansas State versus Iowa or Jags versus the Rams, we all know where I'm going to go.
Yeah, and it's just a shame you had to go with the second choice and go to the Jags and the Rams, really. But no,
we all understand.
Exactly. But no, it's 1 month until college football returns. We are so close. It's exciting. It's really, really very much exciting season. And with exciting season comes more conference previews. Obviously, we've done one episode pretty much dedicated to all the G5, but all the Power 4 conferences are getting their own special full episodes. Like last year, we doubled up. But I think it's only fair. Next week, we're going to do the Big Ten, and we will have Adam from CFB UK View joining us again. So I have some competition. Adam, if you remember, is an Oregon fan. So we have a little bit more. Then the week after we will be talking all things ACC. Unless Gary can't make it, then we'll have to switch it around or something. And then on the 13th,
we can always have SEC before, and oh no, Fletcher, he won't be able to make it.
Yeah. So as the plan is,
you mean Texas only, right?
Yeah, Texas only.
So via the current plan, we have the ACC, and then the week after we will have the SEC, where Sam will get to talk Texas, and we will have special guest from Head of the Line Chapman to talk actual college football.
You can talk about the other teams within the SEC.
What week are we doing the best independent teams? And
what? Are we doing four?
Are we doing independence teams at any point?
These are all properly scheduled conference episodes. We're going to have to do a independent episode, a side one over there for the independents.
We can do a 10-minute little bit for Notre Dame.
We should have tagged it on to the end of the G5, really, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we might be able to slip it into the SEC because they share so much of the same schedule, which is what we did last year. I think in the end,
I think we did, yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the current plan. The subject to change at this moment in time, but the general plan is there. Then after that, after we've done the Big Ten, after we've done the SEC, and after we've done the ACC, right? Do you know what episodes after that?
It's the preview episode.
Preview episode. Ohio versus Texas.
Not quite. The week after. But
we're going to do it the week. Because I can't talk about anything else.
Week 0 preview show.
It's the official Week 0 preview. We have 3 completed episodes away from the Week 0 preview, right? And I think if it doesn't drive it home that we're 1 month away from college football return, if that doesn't drive it home, maybe this will. We have 3 more episodes away from previewing Week 0.
That's when we should get Michael on.
I just can't wait.
It's so close. We can smell it.
Next week, a week today, the day of release, NFL football is back. Granted, it's the Hall of Fame game, but NFL football is back, and we've got preseason. Not the most exciting thing on the planet, but at the end of the day, gentlemen, it's football.
Still football, isn't it? Still people with bats running into each other and smashing people's faces.
Exactly. And some of those players have everything to play for. They have a career to play for in this preseason. So without further ado, I think it's time that we say bid you adieu, goodbye, bugger off.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen.
All of those things. We will see you next week for the Big Ten preview with Adam from CFB UK View. Head to the link, head to the bio, head to the description of this episode. Give us all a follow. Go to all of the links, check them all out, and we will see you next week. And hopefully see all of you guys next week too.
Yes.
Bye.